Hello everybody, this is Kostas and this is our 19th tutorial in Photoshop. In this tutorial I'm going to introduce the history panel. And basically the history panel is one of the tools used by Photoshop to do non-destructive image editing. What that means is that you can edit images in a safe way where you're always able to go back and not risk losing any of the information of your editing. Now let's just go ahead and look over here at the side. As you can see, I have opened the history panel, and to do that you just have to go on Window, History, and if you just click on it, the history panel is going to pop up. Now what the history panel did for us is it recorded all of the actions that I took in order to edit this image, and as you can see there's some pretty heavy editing on this image. And if you just click on one of these actions, you can see how the image was at that point in history and before all of these next actions that are after it took place. So you can just see how the image was at that point. And the first history state is when we opened the image, and then I added a little bit the levels, and then I changed the brightness and the contrast. I desaturated the image, and then I changed the canvas size and added this border. And then I actually added this ST, which stands for signature. I just didn't know what to write down here. So another way to actually navigate through those actions is by using Control-Alt-Z. And what that's going to do is it's just going to go backwards in the history panel. And if you use Control-Shift-Z, it's just going to go forward. And you can do that if you want to. It's just a nice handy shortcut to use, and it's much easier to go back and forth in history using this. Now what happens is Photoshop has a maximum limit by default of 20 history states, so when you go over that limit, the first history states that appear over here are just going to get deleted. And in order to increase that limit is you can go on Edit, Preferences, and Performance, and as you can see over here you get history states options, and I usually set that to 50. It can go all the way up to 1,000, but that's just going to take far too many resources. So the more you have, the more history states you have, the more resources you take out of your computer. But I guess most computers are not going to have a problem since they have the available resources. And let's just click OK right now, and we increase the maximum number of history states to 50 doing that. And let's just have a look at those buttons down here. Now the first button, if I go over it, it says create new document from current state. And what that's going to do is if we go at a point in history and click on this button, it's going to create a new document of how the image looked at that history point. And you can actually go ahead and edit this image, and you can save it as a whole different document. Now let's just go back to our initial image. Now the second option is actually going to create a snapshot, and create new snapshot is what it says. If I just click on it, as you can see, a snapshot appears over here, and all of the snapshots are actually over here. And what they basically are, they're actually a version of your image at some point in history. And no matter what you do, no matter how you edit your image, the snapshots are always going to be there for you, so you can just go and click on them, and you can go back to that point in history just by clicking on them. And the first snapshot is of the original image as it was when it got opened in Photoshop. So you can use that to go back to the original image. Now let's just go back to our place we were in history. And if I just picked canvas size and I wanted to delete that, I could just click on this button over here, the third button, and that would actually delete the canvas size history step and all of the steps that took place after it. So just note that. Just know that. Now you can also right click, and that gives you one more option. This new snapshot, delete, and new document are the same options as over here, but it also gives you the option to clear the history, and that's just going to remove all of the history states except for the last one. Over here you get the menu, and the menu is pretty much the same. It's pretty much a menu that's not used that much, and well, it gives you some options. Let's just have a look at them. Step forward and step backward is the same things we did with the shortcuts: new snapshot, delete, clear history, and new document. We actually saw those options just a few moments ago. And the history options, some of them are quite interesting actually. Automatically create first snapshot, and what that does is whenever you open the image, it's just going to create the snapshot. That's why we have a snapshot of the original image over here. Automatically create new snapshot when saving. Whenever you save the image, it's just going to create a new snapshot. Now I wouldn't suggest using that if you have a tendency to save images every like 2 minutes, because you're going to create a lot of useless snapshots over here, and you don't want that. allow nonlinear history, and that's quite an interesting option. Let's just select it and click on OK. As you can see, all of those history states that were kind of faded out are now back to normal. And what happens is each history state becomes independent. So if I were to just go ahead and delete it using this button or right clicking delete, it would just delete this history state and not any other. So that is because they're all independent from each other. But you have to be careful not to mess things up by just deleting a history state that's really important to others that are after it, and you can mess things up in your image. So just be careful whenever using that. Let's just go back to our history options to select that. Show new snapshot dialog by default, and whenever you actually create a new snapshot using this button, it's just going to show a dialog. Do you want to create the snapshot or not, or whatever. Make layer visibility changes undoable. If you just have this option on, if you have it selected, what it's going to do is, and we'll see what layers are later on, is whenever you change the visibility of a layer, it's not going to create a step in history. So if you want to, you can just check this and you'll see what layers are later on, and you can you can make your own choice. So let's just go ahead and click OK right now. I think that was it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, so see you next time.